How are you doing today? How's everyone doing? Great, awesome. That's fantastic. My name is Mike Reed. I'm a producer on Crysis 3, and I'll be just presenting a short little presentation before we jump into some other stuff today. But let's move right on with the presentation. The bow is a silent tactical weapon that you persistently have throughout the campaign. You can change various draw weights on it, from light to medium to heavy draw weights. You can change the various tips. And more importantly, you can actually use this weapon while cloaked. The other weapon we've showcased is the Typhoon. The Typhoon is a weapon that we brought in loosely based on a real-world weapon, which is called the Metal Storm. This is more of a handheld version of that. This weapon is more of like a submachine gun that fires 500 rounds a second. It's very powerful at short to medium range and relatively ineffective at long range. Another series of weapons we brought into Crysis is the alien weapons. So back in Crysis 1, there was actually a single freeze gun you could actually use. For this, it tied more into the story elements of what we could do in Crysis 3, and how the nanosuit has really changed over that time and being able to integrate with alien weaponry. There'll be 5 alien weapons in game, some of which we've showcased, being the Reaper Cannon, which is basically like an alien Gatling gun. These weapons are found scattered around the map from when you kill aliens, and then you pick them up from there. So they're not a permanent part of your arsenal, but act more like heavy weapons, in that you pick them up, you must use them, and when you're done with them, you throw them away. Of course, at the heart of the Crysis series, and the ultimate weapon that you play in the Crysis series, is the nanosuit. So the nanosuit's undergone a number of changes, from the ability from the perk system, which you pick up nanosuit upgrade kits and then apply them to specific unlocks and combinations that you can create to really make the game your own. The other system is the hacking system that we've added in game. And the hacking system is something that's tied in with the visor systems and that allow you to interact with the environment, from things like being able to hack turrets, to use them in your own case, to unlocking special crates to find special weapons, other nanosuit upgrade kits, things like mines, door panels, and even alien technology.
Crysis w Polsce, proszę Państwa, jest dużą marką. Jak patrzymy na wyniki, a mamy przez ostatnie kilka lat wyniki w ogóle rynkowe, widzimy jakie shootery w Polsce się sprzedają, to myślę, że to jest 4. największy shooter w tym kraju. Jedynki i dwójki sprzedaliśmy, konsumenci zakupili ponad 250 000 sztuk. Pudełek, ileś tam jeszcze mamy ściągnięć z Origina i z różnych innych miejsc.
My name is Mike Reed. I'm a producer on Crysis 3. Developing on current-gen consoles, well, I mean, I think the challenges were probably more apparent in Crysis 2, in the fact that we had never developed for consoles before, up until that point. But we learned how to develop on consoles through, you know, what we went through in Crysis 2. We learned how to develop those, implemented a lot of that on Crysis 3. I mean, consoles have a whole host of challenges. I mean, you know, the good thing about consoles is, you know, at the baseline what the hardware is, that it's not going to change, and there's not many variations. But there is, in terms of, you know, what you deliver and what you deliver on the disc and what you can change after is greatly restricted. Which is, there's a very stringent certification process that the console manufacturers have for delivering a final game and making sure that it's, you know, up to par and up to quality, and there's no, you know, major killing bugs and things like that. So I mean, those are always those challenges have been there for quite some time. Whereas the PC is a lot more freeform, and we can go, you know, if something is majorly broken in it, we can rewrite the whole game and send that out. We don't have that luxury on consoles. So I mean, that's always been the biggest challenge.
Come out and face us, you pussy!
What would I like to see on the next-gen consoles? Everything. That's a hard one, really, to say at this point. I mean, there's a lot of things I think everybody wants to see. You know, fully swappable hardware. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. There's a lot of things that are going on in the industry as a whole right now. You know, this is the longest generation we've seen between consoles from the Xbox 360 to whenever the next ones come out. Sony's got their event on February 20th to likely announce what's coming next as well, and it'll be interesting to see what Microsoft ends up doing too. But there's also, you have different things with streaming technologies starting to be looked at seriously as well. You've got a lot of talk around Valve with the Steam box and where that's potentially going to go too. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's up to the consumer and what the market's going to bear and how the consumers are going to handle it and what they're going to want to take on. If I had to pin it down, and it's not necessarily a new feature, but this is my own personal thing of what I really like about it, is in Crysis 1, you had a very open feeling in the way that you approach stuff and in an objective that you had, and you had multiple ways that you could do it. And the same goes for Crysis 3. And we've kind of brought that back in Crysis 3, but still it's not as open as Crysis 1 was, at least with the visuals and stuff, and it's not as closed as Crysis 2 was, mainly because of the visuals in the New York City streets, but we found a great middle ground between the two of them, and that's really one of the main things, especially in terms of just the action. I mean, I can record action from you, from me, from all these guys, play it back, and it's completely different all across the board. So we've built a very strong franchise, and I think there's a lot of different ways that we can go with it. So, I mean, we're focused right now on getting Crysis 3 out, and then, after this is done, we'll move on and figure out what the next thing could possibly be.